Tomorrow, the Arizona Cardinals are set to play their first home game of the regular season against the Minnesota Vikings. And just like last week, this should be a good one. And although they just lost to the Bengals last week, we shouldn't take them lightly considering they have talent everywhere. But luckily for us, they're going to be missing a couple of their key starting players. So far, Anthony Barr and Everson Griffin have been ruled out of Sunday's game, while Eric Kendricks is questionable as of right now. If Kendricks misses Sunday's game, that'll be a huge blow for this Vikings defense as he is one of their best defensive players. But even with all of those people out, the Vikings still have a ton of studs on the defensive side of the ball. Let's just start with their defensive line that consists of Danielle Hunter, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Michael Pierce. That sounds pretty stacked to me. And their linebacker core would be pretty solid, but if Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr miss Sunday's game, they're going to be in trouble because they're going to have to rely on Troy Dye and Blake Lynch to fill those spots. If you're a Vikings fan, I know that's got to concern you at least a little bit. And then you get to their secondary where they're okay at best. I mean, you have Harrison Smith, who's been one of the best safeties in the NFL for God knows how long, but outside of him, there's a major decline. You do have Patrick Peterson, who I still think's a solid corner, but if you ask 80% of my comment section, they'll disagree with that statement. But then you have Xavier Woods, who played pretty solid last game, but for him to be your starting free safety, it's a little bit concerning. But then you get to your other outside corner, which I think is a major problem for you guys. You have Brashad Breeland. And from what I saw last game, whoever's getting guarded by Breeland is going to have a field day. And I typically don't use PFF grades as most of them are pretty trash, but last week he finished the game with a 26 overall grade. Yeah. So to say he struggled last week is an understatement, and with how talented the Cardinals are at receiver, this game could get ugly. And another thing that can get out of hand is the pass rushing. If you watched the Cardinals game last week, you saw what they did to the Titans offensive line. Just imagine what they're going to do to the Vikings. If we're being honest, the Vikings offensive line is going to struggle tomorrow. I mean, it seems like JJ Watt and Chandler Jones are going to have a field day tomorrow, and with how Chandler Jones played last week, if I were a Titans offensive lineman, I would be terrified. But outside of their terrible offensive line, they actually have amazing talent on their offense with players like Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and one of the most underrated quarterbacks in my opinion, Kirk Cousins. Now, is he worth his contract? Absolutely not. But is he as bad as everyone says he is? Not at all. If the Vikings actually gave Kirk a solid offensive line, this offense would be scary. But luckily for us Cardinals fans, that O-line should be barbecue chicken for this Cardinals D-line. And if we can stop Dalvin Cook like we did Derrick Henry last week, their offense is going to be in trouble. But with all of that being said, now it's time to talk about the Cardinals. We saw how explosive this offense was last week, and with a banged up Vikings defense, I'm expecting another big game out of this unit. Outside of the penalties and Kyler's interception, this offense pretty much played a flawless game, and if we can play 80% of the way we played last Sunday, I don't see a way we lose this one. And I'm probably going to say this every video I make, but I think Kyler Murray is going to be a legit MVP candidate this season, and I think we're going to see another MVP type performance out of him this weekend. And even though we have an amazing offense, our defense is just as good, if not better. I mean, we saw what they did last week. Obviously, we're not going to get a 5-sack performance out of Chandler Jones every single week, but I still expect this defense to look dominant this week as well. And like I mentioned earlier, our D-line is going to feast with how bad this Vikings offensive line is, and if we end up getting 5+ sacks as a team next game, I wouldn't be surprised. I know Chandler had 5 by himself last week, but that was an all-time performance, so the chance of someone getting 5 sacks tomorrow is highly unlikely. But you know, if it does happen, I mean, I'm not going to complain. As long as it's someone on the Cardinals. If it's someone on the Vikings, I'm going to have a problem. But so far, all I've talked about is how good our defensive line played, so let me change that. Our linebackers and secondary played phenomenal last week against the Titans, and the way Isaiah Simmons played last week is exactly why we drafted him at number 8. He was all over the place last week and finished the day with 9 total tackles, and he even had an interception. If he plays like this all season long, he has the potential to be a Pro Bowler this season. But even outside of Isaiah Simmons, our entire linebacker core looked phenomenal. Jordan Hicks, who was told he had no chance to start and was given permission to seek a trade, played a huge role for us last week. Not only was he a key part of this defense, he actually played the second most snaps for us. And if we want to get technical with it, he actually played a total of 61 snaps, which tied Budda Baker for the most. Not bad for a guy who was told he wasn't going to start this season. But I mean, luckily for us, we didn't trade him. So now if we play a team that has a good run game like the Titans and the Vikings do, we have someone like Jordan Hicks to help stop their run game, or at least contain it. And last but certainly not least, we get to the secondary. Now I'm not going to lie, I just wasn't expecting this kind of performance out of our DBs last week. I mean, we knew how good Budda Baker and Byron Murphy were, but can we talk about how Robert Alford and Marco Wilson played? Robert Alford, who has struggled to stay on the field the past 2 seasons, and Marco Wilson, who's a rookie corner, played key roles in locking up one of the best receiving cores in the NFL. I mean, I'll admit it. It seems like I was wrong about our corner situation. If Robert Alford stays healthy and Marco Wilson continues to play like this, it looks like this secondary is gonna be just fine. I honestly can't wait for tomorrow's game, and if I had to make a prediction, I got the Cardinals taking this one 30-17. And obviously there's gonna be people who disagree with me. So if you're one of those people, there's gonna be 2 comments down below. One's gonna be for the Cardinals winning, and the other's gonna be for the Vikings. So what I want you guys to do is basically use these comments as ways to vote for which team you think is gonna win by liking that comment. But here's the twist. Since I know most of the people subscribed to this channel are probably Cardinals fans, I want you to put your bias aside, and here's why. So I'm gonna be keeping track of my personal prediction record, and I'm also gonna be keeping track of yours as well. And at the end of the season, we're gonna see who predicted more games right. Right now, we're both 1-0. I guessed the Cardinals last week, and so did you guys based on the like total. So basically, you guys are gonna have to work together to try and predict as many games correct as possible. So that's why you gotta put your bias aside. And at the end of the year, if you guys end up with a better overall record than I do, I'll be giving something away. I don't know exactly what that's gonna be just yet, but if you have any ideas for what I should give away, let me know down in the comment section below. But try to be a little realistic, because at the end of the day, I'm a broke college student. I'm like that one Khalid song, but instead of a high school kid, I'm a college kid. Young, dumb, broke college kid. But that's pretty much gonna wrap up today's video. If you guys did enjoy, consider hitting that subscribe button. I post NFL and NBA content, so if you're a fan of either of those or both of those, this is the perfect channel for you. But like I said, that's all I got for today's video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. It's been your boy Mythic. Peace out.